omniscient in people's lives. And you literally just kind of hover over their area. Sometimes you would watch them for days, and then you'd have intel that this guy is a bad guy, and you would wait until he walked out to the field to meet with some friends for something, and you'd blow him up. Drop a Hellfire missile on him.
Are you guys going to have anything to drink tonight?
Yeah, just water and
Oh, right. There you go. And the bottled water's back there then if you want to grab one. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
I originally was interested in the Navy at first because the guy that I was dating had been in the Navy, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just join the Navy and, you know, travel and see the world and fight for my country and protect people from terrorists. And I ended up being recruited into the Air Force because I actually saw the posters with the drones, and I was like, wow, that is so cool, like unmanned aircraft, like that's really badass. And I was still like under the impression that America was saving the world, like that we were Big Brother and we were helping everyone out. So when I saw this possibility that I could get out of like the small town that I was in and get out of Pennsylvania and just travel, and I thought that was the only way to do it. And they didn't make it seem like you would be, that one of your only options of places to go is Afghanistan.
1-4, hold your position.
What do you got?
Unmanned aircraft is identifying enemy sniper.
Copy that. Let's move.
I was in the military prior to being in massage school. I got out 2 years ago. I was in Air Force Intelligence. I flew the drones. I was part of a unit that we fought in Afghanistan. And I've lost friends to the war. I've lost friends to suicide that were a part of that unit. And I've seen a lot of people die in the war. So for me, I brought to the massage table pain and just absolute despair and memories, like horrible memories. And along with that is an anxiety disorder and a sleep disorder. And I thought, you know, I came here, I think, subconsciously looking for healing for myself, to be able to find something that in learning to heal other people, maybe I could heal myself as well. It was like slow motion, and it was like you're watching someone just drag themselves across the field. When you watch someone in those dying moments, what their reaction is, how they're reacting and what they're doing, it's so primitive. It's really raw, stripped down death. That's what it is. This is real. Like, this isn't, it's not a joke. I have specific memories of many of them that I know I killed, but it's so messy and, like, they don't report it down to us who we killed. Maybe we killed our objective, maybe we killed a guy who we thought was our objective. You don't know. And I can say the drone program's wrong because I don't know how many people I've killed. After we would do a strike, I would ask for a break and like go outside and smoke a cigarette and just think and like try to decompress and just try to push the like idea that I was involved in killing people out of my mind and like try not to think about it. Sometimes if I couldn't really get out of the situation for very long, I would just go to the bathroom and just sit on the toilet, like just sit there in my uniform and just like cry and just think about like what I was doing. it was just different emotional responses. I mean, a lot of times afterwards I would feel just empty, and if I was crying it was because I just didn't know how to stop feeling like that, how to stop feeling like a shell. And it was an empty void. And it was like always shaking after we would do strikes, because it's such an adrenaline rush. You're killing someone. You see someone die because you said it was okay to kill them.
This is the future, and it's already here.
The predator, it just doesn't give up. It doesn't quit. It will find you. It will hunt you down.
You step into the ground control station, which is your cockpit. You immediately feel like you're in an airplane.
It's kind of like having an eagle or something over your head, constantly landing on your arm and reporting what's going on.
It's eye in the sky, really. Lets them see what they need to see.
It's really a good feeling to know that you're helping the guys on the ground, and that's really why I think all of us do it.
Being part of the Air Force makes me feel proud. When people tell me thank you, that's when I remember that I'm doing something bigger than me.
Before I joined the military, I was well aware that what I was about to enter was something that I was against, that I disagreed with. I joined anyways out of desperation because I was homeless, I was desperate, I had nowhere else to go. I was on my last leg, and the Air Force was ready to accept me. I still work in intelligence as a contractor, basically until I go to school in the fall semester. And I still have a top secret clearance. It's once you're given a top secret clearance, it's good for 5 years, and then it needs to be renewed every 5 years. And when I leave this job, my clearance will expire. Nobody ever thinks about speaking out against the government who's worked for them and hasn't considered what the possible consequences are. But I don't dwell on them because I don't want it to affect my voice. I don't want it to silence my words or to curtail my speech. I genuinely feel like they being the government, they being the Justice Department, they shouldn't hold that power over me. This ominous threat that they'll go after me in the same way that they've gone after so many people, especially since 9/11. I didn't find out what I was going to be doing until I made it to Fort Bragg for the Joint Special Operations Command. At the time, I didn't really realize the significance or importance of the organization itself. I'd simply been told by some people in the military, oh, they're they're kind of like the elite special ops people that you hear about in video games and in movies, and that they were actually responsible for the killing of Osama bin Laden. So I would find targets using signals intelligence. I was stationed at Fort Meade, which is where NSA is headquartered. I had a clearance for NSA. In NSA is the intelligence directorate, which handles signals intelligence. So naturally, I would be put into a position, overseas, working in a signals intelligence capacity, and using the technology on the drone through a means of signals intelligence. Sorry, it's really tough. It's really tough. And I know it's core and it's central to what I was doing and like my whole reason for speaking here. So, but I'm also very unaware of where that line is drawn, and so I have to be very extraordinarily cautious about what I can and can't say on camera. Though it's something so simple and so benign that you wouldn't imagine it were even of, it would even of concern. There's no doubt in my mind that if I said the wrong thing or gave away the wrong kind of information about what I was doing, that I would be safe from prosecution of any kind.
When I first got into the military, I mean, I was thinking it was kind of a win-win. It was a force for good in the world. I could actually help people. I could go places. I could learn things. There was nothing negative about it at the time that was in my thinking or in my consciousness. And, you know, I thought I was going to be on the right side of history, and today I don't believe I was. I worked on a DGS, a distributed ground system. As the name implies, I mean, it's a distributed system, and it spans the globe, and it eats data, and it eats lots and lots and lots of data. This is global. This is getting information anywhere at any time, shooting people from anywhere at any time, and it's not just one person sitting there with a little remote control, a little joystick, moving around a plane that's halfway across the world. That's not all there is. It's like borders don't matter anymore, and there's a huge system that spans the globe that can just suck up endless amounts of your life, your personal data. I mean, this could grow to get so out of control. And we're not the only ones that have this. This is going to be commonplace, if it's not already.
That good? Like beach water?
It's a secret program. And what that means is that I can't just go shouting off the hilltops telling the public what it is. What I can tell you is that to me, one person who worked within this massive thing, it's frightening. Okay, let me find the beginning of this really long sentence. Sergeant Ling also spearheaded the emission security accreditation process for 4 coalition computer networks, enabling the exploitation of 2,400 sorties, and resulted in the timely and accurate identification of 121,000 insurgent targets in support of operations Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom, and then it goes on. That means that the system that I worked on basically identified 121,000 insurgent targets. It's 121,000 lives affected by technology that we control. And in this case, you're talking about a 2-year period. So, how many years have we been at war now? It's 12. Multiply. Add up some numbers and see what's really going on.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for friends and family. We thank you for everything that you have given us. Bless this food and nourish our bodies. Give everyone safety in their travel. Amen.
I was an imagery analyst and a screener. My job was to watch what's happening in the video, the drones, the live video, of course, and identify everything. Another remote duty station, you'd have the pilot, of course, who's flying the actual aircraft, and the sensor operator who is moving the camera around. They were the ones that actually push the button. I do not push the button. I just identify what necessitates a button pushing. We can't just bomb someone and fly away. We have to follow through. The bomb hit and wait for it to cool down a little bit, and then you can see like the body parts. You can identify like that could be the lower half of his body, and that could be a leg. And then sometimes you'll stick around and watch family come and get them, or like pick up the parts and put their family member in a blanket and a couple people hold onto a corner of the blanket and carry him back to their compound. According to my mental health records, I was high risk for suicide because of the way I acted about my job. My psychologist called my first sergeant, and he recommended that I be possibly moved to anything that wasn't involving watching people die all the time. And the first sergeant said that our team was undermanned and that they absolutely needed me to work mission, so he would look into it, but never returned my psychologist's phone calls, never gave him any indications that I was going to be moved to a better job, and I obviously wasn't. I stayed doing that job until the last possible moment when they had to let me out process because I was actually getting out of the military. So I guess that's the cost of a human life, because the fact that I was on a suicide watch list and they still wouldn't allow me to do something else that might help me a little bit obviously didn't matter to the military, and that shows how much the Air Force cares about its intelligence troops.
Look down the bottom there. There's ice on the steps, too. You could tell she'd have a stressful day if she'd call me up and she'd be crying or she'd be upset, but then she couldn't talk about it. And then when you ask her, well, can you talk to anybody else about it? Well, no, we're not supposed to talk to anybody. So she was having more and more issues each day that things went on. A mom knows these things, and then when you hear your daughter talking to you on the phone and you can tell that she's in trouble, just by the emotion and the inflection and the stress that you can hear in her voice, I knew she was in trouble. And the only thing I could do is just stay in touch with her on a daily basis so she felt like she had someone there. Because I have a feeling if somebody was there for her, she wouldn't be here right now. And her friends, a lot of them were in the same boat she was. All drinking, all carrying on, trying to forget the pain.
I'm just scared. I'm always scared. All of us little kids were just scared to go outside.
Now I would like to play a clip of President Obama addressing U.S. drone warfare at National Defense University in Washington, D.C.
And before any strike is taken, there must be near certainty that no civilians will be killed or injured. The highest standard we can set. Yes, the conflict with al-Qaeda, like all armed conflict, invites tragedy. But by narrowly targeting our action against those who want to kill us and not the people they hide among, we are choosing the course of action least likely to result in the loss of innocent life.
When the president gets up in front of the nation and says that they're doing everything they can to ensure that there is near certainty that there will be no civilians killed, he is saying that because he can't say otherwise. Because any time an action is taken to finish a target, there is a certain amount of guesswork in that action, because it's only in the aftermath of any kind of ordnance being dropped that you know just how much actual damage was done. And oftentimes, the intelligence community is reliant, the Joint Special Operations Command, the CIA included, is reliant on intelligence coming afterwards that confirms that who they were targeting was killed in that strike, or that they weren't killed in that strike.
We all know people die in war. We all know that. If we don't, we're deluded. The fact of the matter is that these things, these devices, can go pretty much unimpeded anywhere in the world and blow crap up. And there's no single governing body about how they're used. And that is something that will promote war, not deter it. The people that really get the impact, aside from the people at the distant end who are getting hit by these weapons, are all these new recruits that are coming in. And, you know, the people that are being affected are America's children. People die, things get destroyed, and people who are aged 18 to 24 sit and watch it. How can anyone not find that disturbing?
Hearing politicians speak about drones being precision weapons, being able to make surgical strikes, to me it's completely ridiculous. It's completely ludicrous to even make those statements. It's as flawed as it can be with people operating it from across the world. If they really think they can send a bomb through a window of a compound and hit one militant, then why are we seeing so many civilians dying of collateral damage? I'd like to ask those politicians, have they not been notified of that? Do they not know what's going on in their own war that they're controlling?
A former U.S. drone operator and analyst has slammed American and British militaries for fabricating faulty information on the civilian deaths in the U.S.-led drone war worldwide. Heather Linebaugh has questioned the accuracy of the information collected by the drones, saying the videos provided are not clear enough to detect medicines from civilians. The former American analyst also said the drones in the U.S.-led wars are not used as protection, but rather as a weapon.
This is a perfect example of what it would look like, unaltered. This is probably the best you'll get on a good day. It's why it's so difficult to make that choice. I'd say there's at least two possible children. And then one of them runs away. Like, I care because of like what I've seen happen to like my fellow veterans and stuff, like what I've seen happen to people, like my friends have suffered like so much. Like I've had so many friends that are like, oh man, I can't live with myself for what I did in Iraq. Like I can't live with myself for the things that I've done. And this isn't just for myself. Like this isn't some kind of like self-healing thing for me. Like I've found more self-healing through like doing massage and everything. Like this isn't even like that therapeutic for me. Like, every time I do one of these things, I'm like, I feel awful, because, like, then I have to, like, talk about it and tell people about it and all kinds of stuff, and people think that, like, my story's all mega important or something, and I'm not saying this for, like, the importance of myself. I'm saying it because I need to say it because either my like other veteran friends are like too drunk to spend time to say anything about it, or they're not around anymore. Trying to just get people to change how they view things, and they're like, policymakers aren't listening, policymakers don't care. It's not going to change anything. So I'm going to put myself out there, risk being put on some kind of FBI watch list or something for just saying that, yeah, the drone program makes people feel bad. Like, I'm basically saying the drone program can give you post-traumatic stress disorder. That shouldn't be a surprise. And, like, for me to just say something like that and then have people say it's not going to make a change, but you're going to be the next Edward Snowden. It's just, it pisses me off. Like, and it makes me not even want to try, because if I'm going to get all this awful, horrifying attention from, like, the government and stuff, like, what's the point? Like, if someone comes to my house and puts a bag over my head and holds me away, then what was the point of anything I did? Like, am I really changing people's minds? Or are people just going to share it on Facebook and then move along?
I'm spending all this time doing all this stuff, and it could be for absolutely nothing. Like, I could be living a normal life, spending time with friends, spending time with family, and, like, I'm spending all this time for this thing that I don't know if anybody's even going to care about, and I don't know if anybody's going to be like, oh, well, let's really care about these soldiers in the drone program, because according to the left, we're all a bunch of baby killers, and according to the right, we shouldn't be having any problems because we're not walking around in Afghanistan.
Exposed Facts is dedicated to supporting whistleblowers, whistleblowing, and independent journalism. Our next speaker, Jesslyn Radick, is a director of National Security and Human Rights Program at the Government Accountability Project. As an attorney, she's represented many whistleblowers, and I'll mention just a few of them: Edward Snowden, Thomas Drake, and John Kiriakou. So, Jesslyn Radick.
I represent 7 people investigated, charged, or prosecuted under the Draconian Espionage Act. Espionage Act prosecutions occur largely in secret and have been brutal. I hope that will change. I hope also that whistleblower protection will be extended to protect people in the national security and intelligence arenas who have made all of the bombshell disclosures about war crimes, about torture, about secret surveillance that you've heard about over the past decade.
When the Guardian thing first happened, I was so scared because everybody started calling me a whistleblower and saying, like, this is another Edward Snowden. I didn't think I mentioned anything classified, but then they started saying, like, she mentioned capabilities.
Well, most whistleblowers are not blowing the whistle on classified, and if they do have access to classified information, they're able to blow the whistle on things without ever getting into the classified. And what you're disclosing that hasn't been out there is the ill effect and the horrible negative effect that this has had on the actual people doing the work.
Yeah.
And on the innocent people being blown up, and the shaky legal reasoning. I mean, all 3 of these are the perfect storm of this clusterfuck that we call the drone program.
From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
America does not take strikes to punish individuals. We act against terrorists who pose a continuing and imminent threat to the American people. And when there are no other governments capable of effectively addressing the threat.
In a major policy address on Thursday, President Obama defended the secret overseas drone war, but said the United States cannot continue waging what he described as a boundless global war on terror. Obama's comments came one day after Attorney General Eric Holder confirmed U.S. drone strikes had killed 4 U.S. citizens in Yemen and Pakistan.
Simply put, these strikes have saved lives. Moreover, America's actions are legal. We were attacked on 9/11. Within a week, Congress overwhelmingly authorized the use of force.
The people who defend drones and defend the way that they're used, they always say, you know, they protect American lives by not putting them in harm's way. But what they really do is they just embolden commanders. They embolden decision makers because there is no threat there is no immediate consequence. They can do this strike and they can potentially kill this person that they're so desperate to get and to eliminate because of how dangerous, potentially dangerous they could be in the U.S. But if it just so happens that they don't kill that person or that some other people are involved in the strike and get killed as well, there's no consequence for it. When it comes to high-value targeting, every mission is to go after one person at a time. But anybody else that's killed in that strike is just blanketly assumed to be an associate of the targeted individual. So as long as they can reasonably identify that all of the people in the field of view of the camera are military-aged males, meaning anybody who's believed to be of age 16 or older, they are a legitimate target under the rules of engagement. If that strike occurs and kills all of them, they just say that they got them all.
Okay, we'll take one more question for John McCain. Doesn't McCain have a daughter that's of military age? Oh, good idea. Yeah. How about sending your daughter, John? What about that?
People oftentimes get mixed up in the anti-drone movement, trying to say that we should just ground drones and we should just eliminate drones from our lexicon and never allow them to exist in this world. It's just too dangerous. And I don't necessarily agree with them, because drones are going to be a part of our life here pretty soon. They're going to be, most likely, they're going to be doing things that we were only able to do with people in a plane before. It would be like dusting crops or planting seeds or doing humanitarian surveillance during floods and disasters to try and locate victims. They're going to be there. But there's also that other dangerous side to them that makes war so easy and so convenient and so simple that the people who have access to this technology and access to this capability just say, well, why wouldn't I use this? It's too easy. The most disturbing thing about my involvement in drones is the uncertainty if anybody that I was involved in kill or capture was a civilian or not. There's no way of knowing.
There's a bomb, they drop it. It explodes. Then what? Does somebody go down there and ask for somebody's driver's license? Excuse me, sir, can I have your driver's license, see who you are? I mean, does that happen? How do we know? How is it possible to know who ends up living or dying?
So, folks, welcome to the Commonwealth Club. We have the great privilege tonight to have a chance to talk with General Stanley McChrystal, who had a very distinguished 34-year career in the American military. His last assignment was as the commander of the International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan. Won't you, Commonwealth Club members, join me in welcoming Stan McChrystal.
Think about today's world. You can get information from everywhere in real time. You can talk to anyone in your organization. In my situational awareness room, we called it, we had about 12 screens on the wall, and they were all showing operations in real time, full motion video, we called it, like live TV from Predator unmanned aerial vehicles above them. So we could watch every one of our operators land in a helicopter, get out of a vehicle, move on the target. And because of a system we set up that went through our secure internet, we could hear every radio transmission. And if I was sitting in Baghdad, I could hear radio transmissions from a raid in Afghanistan. And if I wanted to, I could reach down and talk to Sergeant X on the ground on an objective in Afghanistan. Now, I never did that, but the technology now allows you to do that. So the first thing to understand is that's deceptive. It's seductive and deceptive, because if you see things in two dimensions, you get the opinion that you're at 10,000 feet, you see this photograph, you know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. You know what you see in two dimensions.
Lisa, L-I-S-A?
Yep. And I'm...
Go on with the question, please.
Okay, so I'm very curious. I understand that you're a little wary about the drone program, and I'm wondering what your views of the program are.
Yeah, I think drones are here to stay, and they're necessary. But you have to understand how people pursue things. So it's one thing to do things, but it's another to anger a population in the process. So I think you've got to make the value decision. You've got to say, in each case, you've got to make the decision, is it worth it? Because you are going to create, some ill will in the process. I also think we need to explain it to the world better. But again, I'm not one of those people who think it's not going to be around. I mean, technology doesn't go back.
It doesn't, once it's out of the bag, it's out of the bag.
And it's not immoral or moral, but it has to be understood and it has to be described to people. It has to be very carefully used. I just think it's that important.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I read your book and I so appreciate
your
understanding of the Afghan culture and all of that. It touched my heart. One of my neighbors, her name's Asma, and she was born in Afghanistan. And she goes there every year distributing seeds and doing humanitarian work. And Asma's willing to take me this year, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm aware that Afghanistan is a dangerous place. I'm aware that there's still war going on there, but I believe that doing this is the right thing to do. I lost part of my humanity working in the drone program, and humanity was what was missing there, and seeing these people as human beings. It'll be nice to just see it up close. When I meet these people, part of it is making reparations for my participation in a program that's a huge, huge weapons system that kills more innocent people than actual targets. There's no way that I can make amends or change anything that I've participated in, but there's any way that I can somehow give back to that country. That's what I want to do.
اینی گفتی که سرخ میکنی اینی سرخ میکنی درای میشه was an orm bete I said give the ladies too okay so anyhow
I want to be able to be helpful even just a little bit by talking to somebody who's been directly impacted by the drone program and asking, what do you need? What do you want people to hear? Basically, how can I be helpful? Because being a part of a weapon system can't be helpful. It can only be hurtful.
My feeling of her moving to California is mixed emotions. I feel it's an opportunity for her, but I'm concerned about a young lady being that far from home without family support that can't be nearby, and if she needs help, it would take some time for us to get help to her.
She has episodes at least once or twice a week. Sees things, hears things, but it's so hard for our vets and our soldiers and men and women to get help. And with drone people, they consider that they didn't see combat because they weren't overseas. And that's not the truth. They see a lot of combat, but nobody takes that into consideration.
It's not just my granddaughter that has had trouble getting the treatment she needed. I know she attempted to get help, and she had trouble finding therapists to talk to because they didn't have the right security clearance, and she was in violation of the law and could go to prison for even talking to the wrong therapist about what was really bothering her. And that made me a little angry at our own government for putting these kids through hell. If we put our young people in this kind of an environment, we have an obligation to look after them, to help them make the adjustment back to normal life. And we're not doing that. And that's shame on us.
The government recently contacted two of the drone whistleblowers whom I represent. The government, meaning the Air Force Office of Special Investigation and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, contacted them, told them that they were on some sort of terrorist kill list. In Heather's case, my understanding was that the Air Force Office of Special Investigations contacted her stepfather to relay the message that a known terrorist organization had been searching her name. And on the one hand, they said there was not a specific or imminent threat. On the other hand, they had very tailored solutions for Heather, which was that she needed to tone down her social profile in general, and that would include writing op-eds, that would include the use of Twitter and Facebook. It's not like Heather's been out screaming from the rooftop about drones, but clearly the government is very aware of the fact that she had written about drones before. To me, that's a blatant attempt to silence whistleblowers, and it doesn't surprise me that that happens to the very few people who have been brave enough to be speaking out against the drone program.
Actually just hours after I had turned in my badge and was finishing my last day. Had gotten home, was relaxing, had poured myself a drink, and somebody downstairs was knocking at the door, and immediately both people at the door, a man and a woman, shoved FBI badges in my face, pushed me inside into the kitchen, and immediately behind them came, I'd say, about 20 agents, basically all of them with pistols drawn, some wearing body armor. And at this point, I'm extremely scared. I didn't understand what was going on. Altogether, I think there might have been at least 30 to 50 agents in and out of the house at different points throughout the evening, taking photos of every room and of everything, searching for different things. Once they were done, they left. and I didn't even have a phone on me. So I had retained a number. One of the agents allowed me to retrieve a number from my phone, and then I used that to call my friends in D.C. to ask them if they could help me get in touch with the right people that knew how to deal with these kinds of cases.
Once I was in touch with Daniel, we met at one location and promptly moved to another location, and he started telling me what was going on, and it became very apparent that he had been subject to search warrants that he had brought with him and showed me. And I drafted up an attorney-client agreement, a temporary one, on a napkin, so I could provide immediate representation, and then eventually was able to do a full agreement with him. But he was terrified.
Everything that we know so far between me and my attorneys, I've been keeping in here, and it's basically just the warrants that were issued that day and the items that they took. And so there were 3 warrants issued, one for the room of the house that I was in and the house itself. There's a warrant issued for me and my smartphone that I may have in my possession. There's one for my motorcycle, and then there's a list of all the things that they took. So basically there was a list for electronics, and then there was a list for papers. The next was just an explanation of what they were looking for. So under Category 1, information documents in a format or medium, all originals, computer files, copies, and manipulated versions of that are the property of the United States government or any agency of the United States government, including the NSA, the NGA, JSOC, the Department of Defense, the Department of the Air Force. All classified information, materials, or documents are defined in 18 U.S.C. 1924. So those 5 departments or agencies, however you look at them, those are all places I have worked for. 793E and 1030A1, 1030A2B, and 1924. So I'd have to actually do some research on that, and I should have probably done that if I were more responsible for myself. But I'm pretty sure, that all just entails a generic blanket. This is a criminal investigation for the Espionage Act.
The Espionage Act is one of the most serious charges you can level against an American. It's like treason. It's that serious because basically it paints you as an enemy of the state. And it's a David versus Goliath struggle. It is a single person against the entire executive branch of the United States government. And that's the kind of power we're supposed to reserve for going after our enemies, not after people who are patriotic.
Going to meet some of the families that have been affected by drone warfare. I want to respect them, and so I'll stay back because I can't imagine how they'd feel seeing somebody that worked on the system that killed their child or killed members of their family or took limbs. So
I'll stay back, and Asma will be there and talk to them.
پای سراب در کجا گذاشت؟
دمو حادثه که می بود دمو حادثه امو تشید امیر پدرش تا پایین کرد تا یکی دیگه امو بچه که شاید متزانم داشت تا او پایین کرد بغلش بود دیگه دختر تا پایین میکرد که او زده شد دیگه بس زد دیگه دمو حادثه امو تشید دمی حادثه که می فامیلا که خیبر مماده خیلی دمی حادثه امی کلیگی امی تشید دمو حادثه شد.
بچه که شهید شد نامش چی بود؟
مرتضی بود.
چند ساله بود؟
4 بود.
و دیگه کی شهید شد؟
سیما بود دختر ما. آف بود. ایتا دیگه باله مادر پدر چی نداره دیگه دختر ما یک دختر بود تیمی سعی میکردیم خوب خوشگلی دیواره نبود خوب صفای خوب بود دیگه خدا جان برد دیگه نفهم دیگه بچه ما تو خوب بود دیگه خیلی خوش داشتیم من بچه خوب
ما غرض از این که از راه دور تا اینجا را تکلیف کشیدیم صدای ما را بکشیم صدای ما رو جامعه جهانی بشنوه مظلومیت ما را ببینه از این که این بسیار به طور فجیعانه و بسیار وحشیانه خانوادهشان یا شهید شدن یا زخمی و تیکه پاره شدن به همین خاطر آمدیم
پیش از این محصل بودم تصمیم داشتم که برم تحصیل خود ادامه بدم و یک دکتر شدم در آینده برای ملت و جامعه خود مصدر خدمت باشم و ما یک تعداد محصل یک تعداد مریض و یک تعداد دیگه هم که از این ولسوالی به ولایت دیگر پیش فامیل و دوست و قریب خود میرفت
people in the back of the pickup. 1, 2, 3, at least 5 dudes so far. And that truck will make a beautiful target.
Yeah. Screener said at least one child near SUV.
Bullshit, where? Send me a fucking bill. I don't think they have kids out of this hour. I know they're shady, but come on.
They're reviewing. Never do that shit. Why do you say multiple times? Why are they so quick to call fucking kids but not to call a fucking rifle?
I really doubt that children call, man. I really fucking hate that. Picked up a third vehicle on their train.
Guilty by association.
They're praying. They are praying.
they're going to do something nefarious.
من زمانی که مودمو یک سایکلان هست امونج کلی مثلا پایین شدی همه در نماز صدا شدی زن و مردم نماز خواندی از اونجا که حرکت کردیم دیگه همی صدای بمبک در گوش ما میامد ولی خود چیزی که هوا آلوده بود دیده نمیشد اما صدایش ما میشنیدیم
چیز بود رنگی سیادش یکی دیگه سفید بودم تا او بینگ میزدم تا بینگ میزد دور تا دور میخورد
اینه که ما برها شنیدیم که امی تیاری به پیلوت که در هوا میگشته او بسیار به فضای بلند به شب تاریک او خود ما دل ما نمینجا درد داره که تو برای دیگه چیزای دیگه مثلا تو فرق نکنی که مثلا این سوزن هست این مرچه هست ولی برای ما انسان هایی که مثلا کلیش در دکسن سوار بود که دکسن اون در بادیش سوار بودم پناهی هم نیست که تو از بالا بگی مثلا من ندیدم توی در بادیش سوار بودم تو ندیدی که همهش مسافر هستم همهش زن و بچه هستم
Adolescent near the rear of the SUV.
Well, teenagers can't fight.
Pick up a weapon and you're a combatant. That's how that works.
Jag 25, Kirk 97, be advised. All packs are finishing up grain and rallying up near all three vehicles at this time.
Oh, sweet target. I try to go to bed, but it's right there center of the track.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Jag 25, our students are currently calling 21 military-age males, no females, and 2 possible children. How copy?
Roger.
When we say children, we talking teenagers or toddlers?
I would say about 12. Not toddlers. Something more towards adolescents or teens.
We'll pass that along to the ground force commander. But like I said, 12, 13 years old with a weapon is just as dangerous.
Oh, we agree, yeah.
What's the master plan, fellas?
I don't know. Hope we get to shoot the truck with all the dudes in it.
Yeah. Center is in, but the party begins.
Alright, so the plan is, man, we're gonna watch this thing go down. The helos are gonna take out as much as they can, and when they Winchester, we can play cleanup.
AMC.
Yes?
Remember, kill chain.
Will do.
Roger. And, oh, there it goes.
Engagement.
Stand by.
ما مسافرین بس دور خطا شدیم دیگه پایان شدیم دیگه بس ماشین ها استارت کردیم پایان شدیم بس پایان شدیم بس ماشین نیدون بالا زد بس ما سیاسرها که گفته مردا گفته که می سیاسرها بدر شنه نمیزنه یا نمیزنه بس ما 3 سیاسر بودیم بدر شدیم که بس ام زد
They took the first and the last out. They're going to come back around.
ماشینه زمین که تفلاتش داد باز پدرش که بوده که یه پایین کردیم دیشان را این تفلات پایین میکرد یا
Looks like they're surrendering. They're not running.
Dude, this is weird.
They hit it. He's got a key.
Holy shit.
I don't know about this. This is weird.
That lady's carrying a kid, huh? Maybe.
No.
Yeah.
The baby, I think, on the right. Yeah.
And that is a firm for Kirk 97. Since the engagement, we have not been able to PID any weapons.
تبقى سعد قلبي
وانا مبارك هاي بعد ابو شكيل ابو شكيل خلاص ابو عثمان فضل يوم انا فضل مره دون فرسان
دوتا من جاي كم جاي دوتا يقدر يوصل
آدم خود خدا دیم ندی زمانی که جورت یک طبیعت و یک غرور دیگه در جان انسان است بسیار دلخوش است آدم اما زمانی که معیوب شدی این مدیرم میسیم زو امیته که پای خط میشه گشتن سرعت آدم کم میشونه این مدیرم خود متکبر میکنه این برای همین قدر بغض دلیل هم جای مونه که انت فقط یکم تو بم صدا نمیکنی نمیتاد خب
See, this is what pisses me off. Where these fucking assholes are like, they're saying in here, DGS supposedly sees women and children. They're saying DGS supposedly sees it. We went to school for almost a year to be able to identify women and children. And this is a daily thing, where the pilot and the SOs and everybody that's at Creech is constantly saying, no, DGS is full of shit. They don't see anything. This happened all the time. And I'd have to literally sit there arguing with these dickheads and have them just be saying shit like this to the people that I can't talk to because I don't have access to talk to them. God damn, the DGS fucking hated Creech because they were always trying to kill people. They always wanted to be blowing someone up. And all these officers, the MIC, the pilot, all these people, it looks good on their resume if they kill more people. And then here they're saying that everything's supposedly, DGS is supposedly calling this out. And then they just have an outright lie that DGS didn't call out any women or children prior to this point when about an hour before that was when they killed all those people and DGS was saying right before they killed them that they killed children. I know what crews did this mission, and it wasn't at my base. I can safely say that because I remember this call sign. But these crews weren't. This DGS wasn't my DGS, but they're all set up the same in terms of the people that are working them, and it's just such bullshit. There's this one thing in here where the pilot's typing. The lady is carrying a kid. Huh? Maybe. And then the sensor operator says, yeah. If you were to read a DGS transcript, which you'll probably never be able to get your hands on, you would see lingo and jargon specifically designed to make statements short and make them possible, probable, or confirmed. You wouldn't be seeing people saying, maybe it's a kid, we don't know, we think it's possible, woman. I couldn't talk about this stuff because it's classified. But now that I have this unclassified thing sitting right in front of me, of these dickheads saying all this shit about us, we were the ones who had to try to stop them all the fucking time. You shouldn't have to stop your own people from killing civilians.
To the great people of Afghanistan, Salam Alaikum. I have spoken with President Karzai and apologized to him and to the Afghan people. I've instituted a thorough investigation to prevent this from happening again. We're extremely saddened by this tragic loss of innocent lives. I've made it clear to our forces that we are here to protect the Afghan people. I pledge to strengthen our efforts to regain your trust, to build a brighter future for all Afghans. Most importantly, I express my deepest, heartfelt condolences to the victims and to their families. We all share in their grief, and will keep them in our thoughts and prayers.
ما درود شفاخانه که آمدیم برازی آمدیم که جای از ما بسیار از مرکز دور است و اونجا شفاخانه و کلینیک نیست که برای ما پای جور کنه و کمیته صلیب سرخ هم اونجا نیست. ما در مرکز برازی آمدیم که اینجا پای بسازیم و یک 2 روزه با هم پای راحت‌تر باشیم، یک زندگی خوبتر داشته باشیم.
What did they tell you?
You know, there was 3 buses full of people from this village. And one of the story was that the wife lost a husband and a child. And he went outside with a child and lifted up and showing the child to the helicopters and the drones that this is a really peaceful family caravan going someplace. By the time he turned around, he was hit. They're not stupid. They know exactly what it is. They know it's drones. They know it's helicopters. They told us drone is a plane from above and has cameras and they can watch and look and take information. They thought drone was not for strike them.
جمعه ساعت 12:15 در ولایت خود ولسوالی علیچه قریه بردهی یک منطقه هستند که اونجا مردم کوچی نشین هستند و اونا در یک جنازه موی سفید آدم فوت کرده بود در جنازه آمده بودند. وقتی برگشت به خانه های خودش میکند در تو موتر هدف طیاره های بدون سرنشینی که مربوط قوه ائتلاف میشه بمبار کردن و 15 نفر ملکی به شهادت رسیدند از یک خانه.
Daniel is in the worst of all worlds because the government clearly has an espionage investigation into him, and now this is a sword of Damocles hanging over his head that he could be indicted any day or years from now for espionage because the government suspects that he is a source of information about the drone program that the government doesn't want out there.
I've discussed with my lawyers to the full extent everything that I think that this investigation could be about. A lot of that is details that I simply could never talk about on film. But what I will say is that it's likely to do with the fact that I'm someone who has both worked for the intelligence community and who is politically active, and therefore they are suspicious of my background.
August. Yeah. Probably remember back in like August, like I called you out of nowhere and like asking you about. Yeah. So there's a long story to that. I'm okay, but it's a bit of a legal matter. No, I just want to thank you again for like being available. It's really very like if I couldn't get a hold of you, I didn't know what I was gonna do. But it's like yeah. Thanks. But it's in the middle of being resolved, hopefully. But as far as now is concerned, I can't talk about it.
Right now, my biggest concern is, well, it's certainly not school, even though I'm in school. And it's basically like the thing I'm least focused on, even though it should be the number one priority I have right now. But right now, I'm just constantly going over in my head and constantly thinking about what I'm saying and who I'm saying it to, and making sure that I'm not saying anything to somebody, whether a stranger or somebody I know, somebody I think I can trust or I know I can't trust. I'm always afraid of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, and I'm always second-guessing my words everywhere I go. Me personally, like I just live every day trying to become more and more comfortable with the idea that it's probably going to happen, that I'm probably going to get indicted and I'm probably going to get charged with a crime, and that there's probably a real chance that I'll have to fight to stay out of prison. I think it's kind of funny, a little ironic too, because so far I'm probably the only adult male in my entire family, immediate and external, that has not been to prison so far. So I come from a long lineage of prisoners, actually. Great proud tradition of fuck-ups who get drunk and go driving or sell pot or, you know, carrying a gun when they shouldn't be carrying a gun in the wrong place at the wrong time. A lot of that where I'm from. But I've, I don't know. Is it scary to think about one day being in prison? Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. Is it scary in prison? Yes, that's it. That was a fucking 3-minute yes.
All the clients I've represented, although I've represented them pro bono, we have to involve criminal defense attorneys, and all of them owe legal bills upwards of $1 million, and that usually only goes before trial even began. The $1 million bill, that doesn't even take you through the beginning of trial. So the economic price alone, not to mention the personal price of your relationships, because you can't talk to your friends and family about what's going on. You can't even talk to, theoretically, a therapist about what's going on. The emotional costs are indescribable, and it's not an exaggeration to say that most of my clients who've been under espionage criminal investigations, it's not at all unusual for them to end up blacklisted and bankrupt and broken. At a minimum, almost every one of my clients who had to deal with this has suffered from severe anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation. And in terms of what it could actually do to him, it could imprison him for decades.
It's kind of, it's a big day, but it's also good because, like, tomorrow I can wake up and not think, like, I wonder when I'll hear from the VA. Like, whether, you know, whatever they decide, at least I know that I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Turn right onto the I-5 ramp, then merge onto I-5 South.
I'm sure they won't even know what my job was in the military. That's going to be interesting. They're, like, if it's a civilian company that they're outsourcing to, so they'll probably be like, wait, what? What's a predator? What's a reaper? So that should be interesting, and that should probably have a lot to do with if I don't get my don't get the disability. It's about recognizing that someone can see terrible things and still need to talk to someone about it, and still need to figure out how to heal from that without having to get shot at or without having to be in the war zone. It's about understanding that people see traumatic things and that can affect them just as much as if you're involved in the traumatic things, because you are directly involved in the drone program, whether people think they are or not. But they'll decide that for me. When I went in, I was expecting like the whole thing to be like them coming up with reasons why I don't have PTSD. And the guy sat down and he was so nice. He sat down and he was like, so I was looking at your papers, it seems like you saw a lot of really awful things, and he's like, he had me describe some of them and stuff, and I started crying, and he like gave me tissues, and he's just like, I'm so sorry, and he's like, I'm so sorry you had to see these things, and like, he's like, you're way too young for that, like, you know, it's really tough, and we're going to try to get you, like, the best help we can get you, and, like, it was, he was like, you know, it's good that you're coming in here, and I'm really glad you're seeing a therapist regularly, and he's like, these are all things that can really help you, and he's like, I see a lot of people with PTSD, and he's like, I promise it's not always going to be like this, like, you know, you're gonna eventually have days where, like, you know, it's a lot easier, and he's like, hopefully, you know, you won't feel as guilty as you do forever.
It's really tough to describe what that feeling is like. You know, having the image in your head of, you know, just taking your own life is like, it's not a good feeling. It's not something people should have to deal with, and yet we do have those thoughts sometimes when we are in our, like, you know, in our darkest places, and we have a lot to worry about, and the future is uncertain, and we are you know, we feel guilty about our past actions or something of that sort. I'm not sure.
A federal jury in Virginia has convicted former CIA officer Jeffrey Sterling of 9 felony counts, including espionage. Prosecutors accused Sterling of leaking classified information to journalist James Risen of the New York Times. Supporters of Sterling described him as a whistleblower, but prosecutors claimed he leaked the information to settle a score with the agency. Sterling is scheduled to be sentenced in April. He faces a maximum possible sentence of decades in prison.
زیاد شده معذرت خواسته بازم همین کار صورت گرفته همین خطاهایی که نکرده در عروسی ها در کل مراسم ها بازم همین افغان های بیگناه همین مردم ملکی و همین هموطنای ما بمبارد شده بازم همین وعده که نه با ما داده جامعه عمل نپوشیده و خلاف از عمل کرده بازم بمباردمان کرده دیگه خواهش از ما اینمیسته که باید دیگه کارا دیگه تکرار نشود دیگه بس دیگه عالم بیشتر از ملت افغانستان در اثر از این جرمه هایی که مرتکب شده معلول کرده شهید کرده معیوب کرده دیگه از بیشتر نشود خواهش من اینمیست
Die worst die? Oh, ga ik niks voor doen.
الان ما که مایوب شدم ایت احساس نمیکنم که دیگه ما کار نمیتونم ما نمیتونم مثلا آیل پیش بردن نمیتونم ایت خور نومید نمیکنم خود ما چون که اگر ما احساس ایت نومیدی کنم اتم اولاد ما متنومید میشونه دیگه نه خواهش از ما اینه می هست برادرای خارجی از ما که الان ما متشیدیم مایوب شدیم اونایی که کشته شد خدایش بیامرزه در آینده برای مثلا قوم از ما برای دیگه تمام هموطنای از ما مثلا دیگه یه جرم یه خطا مرتکب نشوه که خود از دیگه قابل تحمل و صبر نیست.
I was told that they forgave me for the part I played in what happened to them. And that's amazing. And when you think about that these people are considered, you know, of military age, terrorists, all of that, you can see people's hearts. I just want people to know that not everybody is a freaking terrorist. And we need to just get out of that mindset. And we need to see these people as people, families, communities, brothers, mothers, and sisters, because that's who they are. Imagine if this was happening to us. Imagine if our children were walking outside of their door and it was a sunny day and they were afraid because they didn't know if today was the day that something was going to fall out of the sky and kill someone close to them. How would we feel?
I think as any activist would be, I am primarily optimistic about the world. You know, for all the cynicism and pessimism that comes out of me, I think that when it really comes down to it, you just have a love for humanity, a love for human beings and one another, that you believe that there is the possibility of change and that another world is possible, as they say.
If I see an article about the drone program or something, and like see how people talk about cold-hearted killers, things like that. That was me. Like, that was my job. Of course, like, it still is me. You are your history. But if you have any conscience at all, you know that what you did was wrong, and you know that for the rest of your life it's going to be there. You can't undo what you did. And you can't bring those people back. So it's something that you live with.
We are in the United States of America, and we are participating in an overseas war, a war overseas, and we have no connection to it other than wires and keyboards. Now, if that doesn't scare the crap out of you, it does out of me. Because if that's the only connection, why stop?
There's a new national bird.